In the silent underbrush of a dying afternoon, the forest paused. A single dry leaf trembled, not from wind, but from tension so thick it could slice the air. Beneath the roots of an ancient fig, a rat crouched low, eyes burning with instinct. Locked in a motionless gaze with a predator carved from muscle and patience. The snake, coiled like a question, didn't blink. For 10 minutes, time seemed to vanish. No birdsong, no rustle, just raw survival pulsing between two lives separated by only a breath. The rat knew one move could mean death. It wasn't just fear, it was calculation. This wasn't panic. It was ancestral intelligence, and the snake, cold-blooded, didn't mean emotionless. It measured the rat with mathematical stillness, sensing heartbeat, heat, hesitation, every second stretched like vines in slow wind. Neither attacked, neither fled, and that was the mystery. Then suddenly, a subtle shift. The snake's muscles flexed, eyes narrowing. But the rat didn't flinch. It stood its ground, not out of bravery, but desperation. Behind it, a burrow, inside its young. This wasn't a standoff. This was a shield. A mother refusing to yield to fate. The forest watched, holding breath it didn't have. The snake hissed, not loud, just enough. But the rat crept closer, not to fight, but to protect. And that's when the whispers began under the trees. Leaves murmured, branches sighed, and even the fig trees seemed to lean closer as if drawn into this dance of life and instinct. This tiny creature became something larger than itself. But what would happen next? Would the snake strike? Would the rat keep creeping? And most importantly, why? Because hunger, advantage, it was all there for the taking. Yet something held the snake back. What was it? Was it exhaustion, satiation, or something more? The anticipation grew thicker than the jungle air. And then the unthinkable happened. The snake recoiled, not in attack, but in retreat. It slid away from the rat, moving with a sinuous grace that belied the tension of the moment. The rat, frozen between hope and caution, didn't budge. It stared at the receding form of the predator, unsure whether to pursue or stay rooted in place. What would the snake do next? Would it return with renewed vigor or vanish into the foliage? The silence stretched, broken only by the distant call of a bird. But the snake didn't come back. It disappeared into the undergrowth, leaving the rat amidst a tableau of tension and uncertainty. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, the rat remained motionless. The minutes ticked by, each one an eternity, until the jungle grew quiet again. Not with anticipation this time, but with confusion. Where had the snake gone? Why had it abandoned what seemed like an easy meal? And then the unthinkable happened again. The rat made a move. It wasn't a desperate lunge, nor a cautious retreat, but a slow, deliberate step forward. The rat approached the spot where the snake had disappeared, sniffing the air, ears twitching, whiskers probing the space. It was as if it were searching for something or someone. What was the rat doing? Was it seeking the snake to finish the fight, or had it come across some other, perhaps more pressing need? The forest held its breath once more, this time in anticipation of the rat's actions. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled deep in the rat's chest, a sound of pure maternal instinct. The rat had found what it was looking for. Scrambling over fallen leaves and moss-covered stones, the rat finally reached its destination, a small burrow nestled at the base of the fig tree. With a final squeak, it disappeared into the safety of its underground home. The moment the rat vanished, the snake reappeared, slithering out from the same spot where it had vanished moments before. It paused, head raised, as if listening to the sounds within the burrow. Then, much to the relief of any creature hoping for a peaceful evening, it turned and melted back into the undergrowth. The tension eased from the forest floor, replaced by a strange calm. The leaves rustled in the evening breeze, the crickets chimed their nightly chorus, and the fig tree stood silent, witnessing another day in the eternal cycle of life and survival. In the aftermath of this silent duel, the jungle was left pondering, not just in the animal kingdom, but in our world too. The question echoed, when to strike and when to stand firm. The snake and the rat had answered it in their own way, each surviving on its own terms. As darkness fell, blanketing the jungle in a velvet cloak, the story didn't end. It evolved into a legend whispered among the trees, a tale of a standoff, a mother's love, and the curious hesitations of a hungry serpent. In the heart of the jungle, where tales like these come alive, there's a secret haven untouched by human eyes, a place where animals, big and small, live, love, and sometimes pause in their timeless struggles. This is where the story of the brave rat and the thoughtful snake began. Deep in the emerald embrace of the jungle, tucked away from prying eyes, lies a sanctuary where the rules of human logic seem to bend. Here, a symphony of rustling leaves and chirping crickets compose the daily soundtrack. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, painting dappled patterns on the forest floor where countless dramas unfold. It's here that animals gather not just to survive, but to reveal life's intricate balance. Side by side, creatures who'd be rivals elsewhere coexist. A troop of nimble monkeys share the trees with a family of regal deer. At the water's edge, a pair of majestic elephants meet the curious gaze of a lone crocodile. Even predators find a measure of harmony here. a pride of lions keeping watch while a spotted hyena rests nearby. Yet this tranquility is not without its challenges. Each creature must navigate a complex social structure, forging alliances, respecting boundaries, and most importantly, understanding the language of the wild. This is a world where every sound carries meaning, and every gesture can have consequences. Here, the rat and the snake first crossed paths. The snake, sleek and sinuous, glided through the undergrowth, its scales catching the sunlight. Its cold eyes, though often misunderstood, are keen observers of their surroundings. Meanwhile, the rat scurried along, its whiskers twitching, always ready to flee danger. Both creatures, vital parts of their ecosystem, were on a relentless quest for survival. Their encounter was not uncommon. In fact, it was a microcosm of the constant interactions playing out across the reserve. But this meeting would be different. You might wonder why these animals are here, why they gather from around the world to this one special place. The answer lies in the very core of the sanctuary, a watering hole unlike any other. Its waters are said to hold healing powers, drawing animals from miles around. But it's not just about healing bodies, it's also a place of healing hearts, a sanctuary for animals who've known pain, loss, or the sting of captivity. This is a place where a wounded lion finds solace, where a lonely elephant rejoins its kind, and where a shy, timid creature becomes bold. It's here that the rat and the snake confront their instincts, their history, and ultimately, themselves. What drew them together that fateful afternoon was not just the hunt or the instinct to survive, but something deeper, a shared history, a mutual respect, and perhaps the promise of change. As the hours slipped by, the standoff continued. The rat held its ground, fueled by the ticking clock and the precious moments it spent with its young. The snake waited, not just for the perfect strike, but for a revelation that went beyond its predatory nature. The story of the standoff wasn't just about a mother protecting her young or a snake seizing its prey. It was about the quiet understanding that developed between two unlikely participants. The rat, driven by the fierce love of a mother, refused to back down. The snake, compelled by an insatiable hunger, couldn't bring itself to strike. In that silent battle of wills, something shifted. The snake saw more than a meal in the rat. It saw determination, courage, and an unwavering commitment to life. The rat didn't just fear the snake, it respected its power, its patience, and the primal force that drove it. As the tension mounted, so did their admiration for each other. The snake admired the rat's tenacity, its ability to stand firm in the face of danger. The rat admired the snake's focus, its discipline, and the quiet strength it exuded. In those stolen moments before the first move, they learned something about each other and perhaps a little bit about themselves. The standoff ended, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The snake didn't strike because it realized that sometimes the greatest prey is the one you let go. The rat didn't run because it understood that sometimes the greatest victory is the one you defend. In the end, both walked away with a newfound respect and a story to tell. The snake returned to the bush, wiser and humbler. The rat scampered back to its den, braver and more resolute. And somewhere in the heart of the jungle, the fig tree stood silent, bearing witness to the silent battle that had played out at its roots. A battle that had been fought and won not with weapons, but with wills. A testament to the quiet strength that resides in every living thing.